Hi guys, this is Markus with a new video for the Academy of Poker. And today, as you see, we will be talking about the top 5 mistakes that beginners make. Now, you may be a beginner or already in a later stage of your poker career, but I think it's always still good to see what beginners make for mistakes, and either you can exploit them even better after this video, or if you're a beginner, you can just avoid doing them. Before we go on, as always, sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of social media to not miss out on any news, videos, or updates of anything we offer you in the Academy of Poker.
Before you see the upcoming video, make sure to click the link in the description below to join our new free roll master course. In that course, which is completely for free, you will find out how to become the master of the free rolls and how to be able to beat all of your opponents in every free roll you're going to play from now on. So make sure to check out our course, and now enjoy the video.
So, first up is overplaying and overvaluing overpairs. It's a pretty common thing because just having an overpair doesn't mean you will have the best hand all the time, especially on the river where it counts. And not being able to give up on specific boards is a pretty big mistake and a pretty big flaw a lot of beginners have, because they think if they have aces or kings that they will always be ahead. But that is not the case, at least not after the flop hits. So if you see for example, when there's flops versus the blinds, so you open up middle position, let's say, and the big blind defense, and you see really straight or flush heavy board and you don't have anything from that. So let's say you have aces and the flop is 4, 5, 6 with maybe even 2 spades, and you don't even have the ace of spades in hand. Then you really need to be careful, because when you think about ranges, the big blind is definitely gonna hit this board pretty often with cards that he's defending. It doesn't need to be always the case, but it can happen. So be careful about that. Also, if you're a normal tech, like a normal tight aggressive player, and you play a hand versus a passive player, and suddenly on a board he starts to raise, that's definitely a sign where you have to watch out a lot. Because if he's passive and he suddenly starts raising, he's really interested in that board. And especially passive players, if they start to be interested in board, that's mostly the case when they are really, really strong. Now, of course, it can only be that they have like a top pair with a decent kicker, but still be careful and don't lose all your chips when he's, like, for example, he bets, you raise, and then he goes even over the top. Don't try to lose too much money there, and really think about what can this player now have. And there's a lot of times he might be having 2 pair or maybe even hit a set or something like that. So be sure to not overplay it here, because stubbornness, especially in those situations, can cost you a lot of money and a lot of chips. And you don't want that, because of course you want to run deep in every tournament, sit and go, or cash game, or whatever you play. Next thing, slow playing too much and missing out on value in specific situations. So recreational players, which are mostly like also beginners and people who just don't study at all and just like to play sometimes, they like to sometimes, for really no reason, like to play it tricky and therefore forget to gain any chips. So for example, just calling premium hands in late position, especially in early stages of a tournament when everybody still has like 60, 70 big blinds. That leads a lot into many callers and a lot of people on the flop, because, as said, in the early stages, everybody has a lot of chips and everybody wants to see flops and just play a little bit. So you really need to protect your strong hands. Also, on flops, when you are 5, 6 ways into the flop, even though you have a premium hand, it's really hard for you to have the best hand on the flop with that many players involved. Next thing up would be to check with strong holding, so with strong hands, instead of betting when there's a situation where it's really clear to continue betting. Let's say you opened up ace king and the flop comes ace king 5 with maybe a flush draw there. and you check it behind versus maybe two players because you think, oh, I don't want the flush draw to be in there too much and have a big pot coming up with a flush draw, and when the turn hits the flush, I'm going to be behind a lot of times and so on. Just go for the easy value and make sure your opponents need to pay a price to see any draws, and still, like, opponents can still have like some ace x in that scenario. So it's not like you will always get a fold there, which would make you maybe sad because you thought, oh, I have such a good hand, I could maybe win. But I think you get what I mean. And that there are just clear situations where you should be betting, but you start checking because you have some strange thoughts in your mind. Number 3, making decisions on the flop. This is really hard a lot of times for beginners because they are kind of unable to make a decisive move on the flop. And by decisive, I mean whether to play the hand aggressively or not, and also how to proceed on later stages. And if you don't make a decision there, of course, always keep in mind ranges, the players, the stacks of the players, the stage of the tournament, and so on. But if you don't make this decision, you will not really know what to do. So you're going to play it most of the time really passively. You probably will just maybe call down with weak draws or with medium pairs versus opponents because you're afraid to show some aggression there. And he might then get there on the river with high cards or something like that. And this is going to lead into costing you more money than making a decision on the flop on how to play the hand on the flop. So if you think like second pair, oh, I'm going to raise it because in his range he's not going to have that much, and there's a big chance he's going to fold or he's going to call with draws, and I can push him out on the turn a lot. That's easier than to think, oh, I have second pair, let me check behind, or just call two streets and maybe then give it up on the river. I don't know what to do now. We will see what the turn in the river is. You need to just have a plan there. Number 4, making bad decisions pre-flop. We talked about decisions on the flop, but also this comes from also already making bad decisions pre-flop. For example, a lot of players, they like to, sometimes beginners especially, even like to limp, which is a big mistake already because you're going to make it easy for the big blind to see a flop. You're not bloating up the pot in any way to make it be possible to make more chips. But also if you raise with some hands you like, let's say like suited connectors or some ace-x suited or so, and you get a 3-bet and you're going to be out of position, beginners like to see a flop and they call. And that's such a losing play in the long run, because you have a weak holding. Even if you hit, there's not the chance of you being ahead is not the biggest, to be honest, and therefore you're just going to call that and then fold on the flop a lot, or you're going to even lose more chips versus better hands because you are not able to first like have a good opening range, so even fold that hand maybe pre-flop without even raising, or then at least give it up when somebody 3-bets you. Same as for defending too wide in the blinds. Now, especially from the small blind, a lot of times when you have like queen 6 or something like that, they just love to see still a flop and call because it's only 2 big blinds I have to call or so. In the big blind, the ranges should be pretty wide, but there's still some hands you should not call. And if you still do that, it's a minus EV, minus expected value play, and therefore it's going to cost you chips in the long run. Then, as I said, just don't limp. There are certain situations where it does make sense sometimes, but those are really rare occasions where limping, maybe from the button or from even UTG to trap or so, does make sense. But in general, it just doesn't. Then, as I said, from the small blind, for example, when you flat because you want to see some stuff, when you are in the button because you think, oh, I have position, I have position. I heard something about that having position is a nice thing, but you just flat. And also with hands, you might be able to 3-bet bluff and even just get the pot pre-flop, or you have a range advantage on the flop and then you're going to get it by just flatting. You give the opponent more chances to hit, and even if they open too much, it's going to be easier for them to get you out because beginners also just like to play. Yeah, when I hit, I call. When I don't hit, I fold. So therefore this is hard. And as said, if you flat too much, it can also lead into flopping like top pair, but with a bad kicker. But beginners, they just go with top pair, so they're not able to fold them, and this is going to cost a lot of chips in the long run. Last but not least, it's the tilting again. So if you're able or not able to quit when you're tilting. There's certain things that come up. So when you're influenced by tilt, it will change your decision making. You make even worse decisions that you might have done already the whole time. You're gonna lose more chips. You're gonna maybe insult people way more. You may be destroying some stuff. I don't know. It can happen. But most important thing, your decisions are getting worse. And this will cost you, again, more money. As you see, this is all about then losing more money than needed and not winning at all. So it is really important to leave your own ego behind and even stop a session when you see a tilt is approaching. So maybe you lose like aces versus tens in late stage of a tournament for a lot of chips. Then if you see, oh, I'm getting tilted right now, or I'm not really able to play my best game, maybe stop registering any tournaments. Or if you're playing cash game, just stop playing for 10 minutes, take a breath, go out, talk with somebody, or I don't know, do something else, smoke a cigarette, whatever you want. But it's better to do that because you winning money by not playing after you starting to tilt, because you're always going to lose more money while tilting. And the best thing actually to do is maybe, as I said, take a small break, go out, something like that. And after that, like, try to reflect and analyze the session. And that will help you to improve your skills and also your mindset. Because, of course, it's hard to get a big bad beat late in a tournament. But it's happening to everyone. It's not going to happen to you all the time. You're going to be on the good side of that all in sometimes as well, and then you're going to have a deep run. And still, it's just a game in the end, so make sure to not let this tilt or those bad endings have an influence on the rest of your life. Because if you're starting to tilt, you may be even mad at other persons that don't have anything to do with that. So make sure to do that. And also, talking about analyzing, make sure that you haven't done any mistake in that hand. So let's say, for example, if you started limping the hand with a hand you should never limp, because you should fold a pre-flop, or you should have raised it and then fold it to a 3-bet, as it would be normally the way, but you called it and then you got ahead, but you still lost the hand at the end, then it's not the mistake of the software that let you get the bad beat, but your mistake by playing the hand not in the best way possible. So don't forget about that. Have that in mind. And last but not least, as said as at the beginning of the video, make sure to hit the link in the description below, because then you can get to our Master of Free Rolls course, which is for free, as the tournaments you can crush after mastering this course. You're going to learn how to play the different stages of free roll, how the players in free rolls usually work and how they think, and also some small poker math to make sure that you do the right decision all the time. And that's it for today's short theory video. Make sure to also leave a comment, give us a like if you want to. If you have any questions, just post them below the video and I'll be happy to answer them. But now, that's it for today, and we'll see you in the next video.